Fasten your seatbelt. I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hang on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Go get him, kid.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Not a tumor at all.
F?
You're going to ask me. So you can go ahead and ask me what you're going to ask me. And my natural response could be to get offended.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making. Yes, it is the 30-something movie podcast. We are marching right ahead towards the end of this year. I am having kind of a hard time believing that we are nearing the end of 1991. The year was 2021, and we started the year with one of my favorite movies of all, The Rocketeer, and I was like, this is going to be a lot of fun. And I remember just being super excited to finally get to talk about The Rocketeer, doing all that stuff, and like all of a sudden it's now 12 months later.
Yes.
It's a little shocking that it's 12 months later.
Yes.
But here we are. Here we are.
It's here we are.
Together again. Together again. Okay. Jeff would appreciate, singing the Muppet song along with me here.
Oh yeah.
Patrick, this is Patrick Canigallo. If you don't know Pat's voice, this is Patrick Canigallo.
Hey, everybody.
I am John Reed. Hey, everybody. Pat, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm doing well.
You've had a busy couple of nights. You were telling us before the recording. You gave a band concert last night.
Yep.
The band, Elwood. And then tonight, you just got to play dad and got to see your son in an orchestra concert. So you just were spectating.
Yeah, Dominic had his concert tonight. I got to sit in the audience. We had a concert last night, and it's just like I said at the when I was doing a little announcements last night. It was like it is so great to be able to come together and do live music again, and fingers crossed we keep the positive momentum going and all that kind of thing. But that's been pretty special. So
yeah.
Good times.
Bo is also here with us. Bo, how's it going?
I'm well, John, and yourself?
I'm good. I'm appreciating your Lower Decks background you've got there on Zoom.
Why, thank you.
In your own little Captain's Ready room.
Yeah.
Hopefully you don't end up having to sell all those items on the shelves back there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I break all my little ships.
No. Oh, you broke your little ships. And let's see, Dennis. I think Dennis is here with us too.
Yes, I am. I'm just getting settled in here. So yeah.
Yeah. How are you doing, Dennis?
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing fine. I'm kind of looking for. I mean, we're going to kind of jump right into it here in a second. I'm kind of looking forward to some of our responses for this movie because it's a little. How do I initially want to describe it? I don't even know how I want to describe it.
You remember Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country?
I do, yeah.
Do you remember when they were all sitting there trying to figure out, would Kirk really try to assassinate the Chancellor? And they're going around and they had that guy that does the great Klingon ambassador that always sounds outraged.
Yes.
And then the president guy looks over at the Romulan guy and he says, and the position of the Romulans, Ambassador Nunclus, what is that? You can't believe that Captain Kirk would try to assassinate the Chancellor. And the Romulan ambassador just kind of sits there and goes, Mr. President, we don't know what to believe.
I don't know what to believe.
I think that's how I feel about this movie. Guys, I'm not sure what to think. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Or you've been watching the movie and all of a sudden you're like,
that's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
There you go.
That's it, man.
I do want to
That's
point
it.
out, and I did go and grab the sound effect, so I could play it for us now. I really appreciated. I think Jeff had listened to our episode on the Guyver
Yes.
earlier today, and I loved the video he texted out to all of us that was Ross from Friends, and I was like, oh God, that sounds so much like Pat when it's a movie that we're not when it's a movie that we're not sure that it's of the best quality in the world. But and Pat is trying so hard to be excited about it. So I pulled that one. So this is I'm gonna start playing this for when I can tell that Pat's like, I've watched a movie. This movie should have the elements to it. Like all the elements are there for something that I should love, and yet I don't know what to believe.
I'm fine. Totally fine. I don't know why it's coming out all loud and squeaky, because really, I'm fine. You know what we should do?
Calm ourselves?
Yeah, man, that's that.
Because it's funny. It's like every time, and I think you in the recording were the same way. It's like, so Pat, what did you think of the Guyver? It's fine. It's fine. You know, it's good. It's fine. So.
Oh man,
we're all fine here. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Oh,
How are you?
Yeah.
So, all right. All right. Well, I think we can dive on into my own private Idaho here. Very, very quickly before we do that, we spoil, so this is your only warning. We are part of the Scene Stealers podcast network, and this episode, as all of our other episodes, are sponsored by Scene Stealers International Convention Agent. If you are, it's a little later in the year, so we're kind of winding down on the convention circuit, I think. But those are going to be starting back up here in the spring, I believe. So if you are somebody who is working on planning ahead for a convention or some type of event where you would like to pull in movie and TV stars that could be booked for that event, go ahead over to scenestealersglobal.com. Then when you're done there, you can go ahead and visit our website, 30podcast, 30 and the word podcast.com. You can leave a rating, you can leave a voicemail, you can leave a little bit of yourself there if you want to. That's fine. But you can also become a co-executive producer via Patreon, where you get access to different bonus episodes that we do each month. And there are upwards of, I want to say about 15 that are there now. That you can go back to and listen to, but we're always adding new ones every month. And just a fun time interacting with our different co-executive producers that are there with us on Patreon. So head over there. And yeah, I think that's it for kind of our intro information, all the stuff you need to know before we jump into things. But anybody got anything you need to announce or share before we start jumping into the movie? Anything pressing that the world needs to know about?
There's a new Matrix movie coming out in 2 weeks.
There's a new Matrix movie coming out.
And Pat's not excited at all.
No, not at all.
No. Yeah. He's not sending us a text every day with a countdown.
That's not happening. Nope. Nothing like that.
You're like a person that you're like a person that works very close to my desk who is going to be retiring from our school district at the end of this school year. And I was like, I walk past her desk every day and I'm like, and today is? And she's like, 223. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Well, our movie this time is My Own Private Idaho. It came out on the 27th of September, 1991, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour, 44 minutes, directed by Gus Van Sant, who also did Drugstore Cowboy, which we watched about a year or two ago, maybe. Paranoid Park was another one. Produced by Lori Parker, who also did Mars Attacks and In the Cut. Writer for this one was Gus Van Sant, who did Even Cowgirls Get the Blues and Last Days. And if you want to, you could include Mr. Billy Shakespeare as a potential writer here. Hey, Dad, we got Bill Shakespeare over here. So, yeah, we can include Mr. Shakespeare because, he's written some screenplays for movies. He did Romeo and Juliet and, 10 Things I Hate About You and stuff like that. He's getting a lot of work, even though he's been dead for a few centuries. Cinematography by John J. Campbell and Eric Allen Edwards. Campbell did Sisters and Rough Magic. Edwards did Knocked Up and To Die For. Editor was Curtis Clayton, who did Drugstore Cowboy and To Die For. Music was done by Bill Stafford, who did A Time to Sing and Tarzan the Ape Man. Budget was $2.5 million. Box office was $6.4 million. Flick Metrics gave it a 75%. Cinema Score did not have a score for this one. Starring River Phoenix, who died in 1993. He played Mike Waters. He was in The Mosquito Coast and Stand By Me. Keanu Reeves played Scott Favor. He was in the Bill and Ted movies and the John Wick movies. James Russo played Richard Waters. He was in Django Unchained and Open Range. William Richard played Bob Pigeon. He was in The Client and Manic. Rodney Harvey, who died in 1998, played Gary. He was in Twin Peaks and The Outsiders TV series. Chiara, I think might be how you say her name. Chiara Caselli played Carmela. She was in Beyond the Clouds and Ripley's Game. Michael Parker played Digger. He was in Drugstore Cowboy and Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. Jessica Mackinson played Denise. She was in South Park and Halfway Home. Flea played Bud. He was in Back to the Future and Baby Driver. Grace Zabriskie played Elena. She was in Armageddon and Wild at Heart. Tom Troop played Jack Favor. He was in Star Trek The Original Series and Summer School. And Udo Kier played Hans, and he was in Blade and Downsizing. In this loose, I think we're going to call this a very, very loose adaptation of Shakespeare's Henry IV. There's a little bit of the Henry IVs. I think there might have been a little bit of Henry V in there too. Mike Waters is a gay hustler afflicted with narcolepsy. Scott Favor is the rebellious son of a mayor. Together, the two travel from Portland, Oregon to Idaho and finally to the coast of Italy in a quest to find Mike's estranged mother. Along the way, they turn tricks for money and drugs, eventually attracting the attention of a wealthy benefactor and sexual deviant.
Always know where I am by the way the road looks. Like I just know that I've been here before. I just know that I've been stuck here.
Mike? I'm extremely excited.
Don't worry. Everything's gonna be all right. You men make yourselves comfortable. I'll be right back.
She's cool, because it takes her a little while to get warmed up. It's normal, nothing kinky.
Where is my son, Scott?
We don't know, sir.
Hey, Mike, how long have I been here on the streets, on this crusade? It's been 3 years, Mike.
Yeah, almost 4 years. That's a long time.
And then I have to think of you and what a degenerate you are.
Don't think that, Father.
Hey, Mike! Mike, over here!
River Phoenix.
If I had a normal family and a good upbringing, then I would have been a well-adjusted person.
Depends on what you call normal.
Well, you know, normal, like a mom and a dad and a dog.
So you didn't have a normal dog?
Keanu Reeves.
When I turn 21, I don't want any more of this life. I will change when everybody expects it the least.
From the director of Drugstore Cowboy.
This road will never end. It probably goes all around the world.
My Own Private Idaho.
All right, so initial question, as we always do, is this the first time you've seen this one, and how does this movie make you feel in a short word or phrase? I'll go ahead and kick us off. First time I've seen it. I've never seen it before. And how does it make me feel? I felt maybe that's my answer. I felt confused. This is not, I'll elaborate just a tiny bit and then more later on. This is not my style of movie. While I found some of the story pieces to it interesting, the just constant jumping back and forth between genres and styles of filmmaking, like the abrupt changes like that, not usually my cup of tea. So that's probably kind of where I I come in on the side of feeling confused. I was interested enough the entire time for it to hold, my attention, and the story to me was interesting. The characters were interesting. And the visuals were interesting. Just maybe the way it was edited, maybe the way it was all pulled together. Some of it was a bit too jarring or abrupt for what I normally like to watch. But we'll go into more of that later on. So, who else? First time watching it. How'd it make you feel?
All right, I'll go. So it's I don't know if I can classify. Okay, it's the first time I've seen it all the way through. Let's just put it that way. I could not remember this film for a long time, and now I kind of know why. But I remember seeing parts of it. I remember fast forwarding maybe through parts of it, thinking like I remember a scene that they showed on probably Siskel and Ebert or something where they're out in it's the campfire scene type of thing, and there's dialogue. And I'm thinking, oh, it's like a one of those kind of outdoor My Private Idaho. So that's what I was expecting. And I know that I must have just turned it off being 2021 at the time. It was probably about 21 because I would not go into a theater to see it, but it was either on VHS, cable, something, or my dad, somehow it got into our house and we were kind of starting to watch. I want to guess cable probably. And that's why I must have turned, I kind of knew why after about 5 minutes, why I probably turned it off. And then, so if my words are how it makes me feel, here's my thing. It's going to be, all right, let me prepare here. It's, huh? Okay. Huh? That's it. 4 words.
I feel validated in hearing you guys what you're saying, because that was exactly how I felt like watching it. So I mean, everything you guys said for Pat just kind of summed it up much more eloquently. So I'm just gonna say ditto. It was confused, and then, like Dennis, you had your 4 words. That was perfect. So for me, it was just the way it was the way it was all assembled. It just seemed very disjunct. So kind of left with a bit of a question mark. And I don't want to say surprised, like, oh, these are the guys that did Drugstore Cowboy. I was very taken by that movie. I really enjoyed that movie. Like I said, this one a little different.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, like everybody else, I was confused for different parts of it. There were parts of it that made me smile. I mean, it was my first time seeing it. When the obvious Shakespearean roots popped in, it made me smile a little, because I was trying to figure out why they chose there. Like, what is it about this scene that they wanted it to sound like a Shakespearean soliloquy? Why now and not a scene from 5 minutes ago? But then as you come to read about how the movie came together, that it was 3 different story thoughts thrown into one, then you can start to see that stuff. But it was very confusing to watch. And until you read more about it, you definitely don't understand what's happening a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure I understood, like, if it had a single point, that it was trying to make.
Plot or message. I'm like, when you walk, it's like you're trying to figure out what was the message. I mean, another way, if I were to say how I felt about it, I think part of me was a little bit, because, my daughter is back in town. This was on her list. She's a Joaquin Phoenix, River Phoenix fan. And she has a list of movies from old to, from all time that she wants to knock off her list. And this was one of them. And I go, hey, this is the podcast this week. Let's knock this one off. So let's watch this together. And within the first 5 minutes, I'm like, hey, you want to keep watching this?
This is a daddy-daughter movie.
To be watching with your dad?
You're just about 21, or 2021 right now. And I'm like, it's just, we've seen probably, you'll just plow through it. It's going to get better. And then about halfway through, we kind of kept going, keep going, or what do you want to do? my break, snack time. There was a lot of those moments. Then and I think our overall impression, she said exactly, what I said. She goes, I feel like it's got to get better, and I'm waiting for it to get better. And it starts to seem like it might get better. And then it doesn't get better. And then you go, no, but it's got to get better.
And then Hans shows
very
up.
highly rated, reviewed movie by so many people and critics, and hailed as this, just great thing. And we just didn't see it. And we're just like, is it us?
I believe also this one is preserved by the Criterion Collection as well.
Yes. I think, yeah.
Just like next week's.
And my thing was, I'm not, what's the word? Arrogant enough to think that I get everything. So I'm thinking maybe this is just me and I'm missing something. And I get the Henry, but I don't see that. Like, I know it's kind of very loosely thrown in there, but I just don't get the point and what's the message. And maybe I'm missing it. Maybe there's something more meaningful or more profound that's supposed to be here, and I'm just missing it.
Yeah. Yeah, there was, I was trying to.
So I'm thankful that you guys are all sort of on the same page, because now it's making me think that, okay, that no, this is not, it wasn't just me not getting it.
Yeah.
Unless we all just don't get it. Well,
yeah.
Which if there's someone out there, I would love to hear if somebody like types in or responds or whatever, who has a great kind of rebuttal to what we're probably going to say tonight. I'd love to hear it, to be honest with you. I mean, I've read some reviews here and there, some positive ones, and I'm like, nah, so far nothing's convinced me.
Yeah.
I've just more agreed with any of the kind of, you see a lot of things, non-story, no story. I also have a few little kind of, I guess maybe more serious criticism of it, as we can go, maybe which we could explore as we go on, I guess.
Well, and I even like the framing device of using his narcolepsy to kind of jump between different styles and different, even different like filming methods and types of film and, all that different stuff. Even using that, like, I would expect that you're using that to say either he's been asleep for most of his life and this is some event is going to wake him up, or this is going to be some kind of an awakening for him. But I feel like you get you get to the end of the movie and you're back on the same road, and I can't tell you what has happened to cause him to awaken in any way or anything that's changed. I mean, that's part of, you think of when you write a story of some kind, you kind of want your character to progress in some way, or, come to some kind of realization by the end of the story. And in this one, I mean, they've traveled across the world and came back, and I don't feel like he's any different.
Gone anywhere.
Yeah, he hasn't gone anywhere. He's no different than he was in the beginning of the movie.
And then I thought, well, that might be the point, of that feeling of that they want to leave you with that feeling of kind of like nothing happened here, which to me, then the tone of the movie, and I don't know, maybe it was Pat who said something, was there a little bit of, or maybe it was, I don't know who said something, or kind of lighter moments or some funny piece in there. And I thought, well, maybe this is like a very serious, like maybe there's a serious message about this life that's out there of people, but they almost, with the narcolepsy, I feel, is there a little bit of exploiting and making fun of a mental illness, of it, not a mental, but of an illness. And then is there also the exploitation of people who are prostitutes, down and out, lost lives, who are looking and searching for their place in the world? Is there it almost felt like a little bit of a mockery, and I guess that, or an exploitation to a degree, versus any real deep dive into something meaningful that would make me walk away and going, wow, this life is out there. And I think back, and I'm going to, you got to throw it, like, I'm just jumping back to 2021. And as a 2021-year-old, I'm not going to say I was, I would never, I feel I'm a pretty inclusive and very open person, and many, like, into each their own and respect everything. But obviously back then in 2021, I'm going to a Lutheran college for a couple of years as well. We had a philosophy class. There was, moral questions about, homosexuality, things like that. And it was always interesting to explore that, to like, who defines what's normal. And I've always been kind of open in that way. But I'm thinking back as a 2020-year-old, is this film is some subconscious turnoff to me because it involves, characters that I don't necessarily understand or identify with. But then I threw 2 female prostitutes in there. And I get the same feeling. Like if you put two female prostitutes and give them the same plot line, I'm walking out with the same feeling. So I know it's not that. And I just couldn't figure out why this doesn't click with me. And I'm just, I was like, again, because I had heard this was like the hopes were high for this film going in because of River Phoenix. And I just walked away going, is it me? Is there something that's blocking me enjoying this film or getting the message? But yeah, I thought about this one for definitely a day or two. And then it's weird. I've almost forgotten all of it. It's weird.
Well, and I'm not.
But then it left me just as much as it left me probably back then in 2021, where I didn't see the whole film, but I saw enough to go like, no, I can't like sit through this right now.
And I compared to that, the earlier work of Drugstore Cowboy, where I mean that too was not a lifestyle that I lived or could understand. The movie is a little bit more complete in that you understand the characters' motivations. You get to know the characters. There's development. And just saying what you said, we took the whole movie, they did the whole journey, and now they're right back where they started. But in this, because it just came across as so scattershot, everything was very surface level. And like you said, it was people that living lives that, I can't empathize with, and maybe empathize is the wrong word, but maybe identify with. Okay, that's fine. But again, like their motivations were not real well fleshed out. Like, why are we doing this? Why are they going here? Why did this happen? Like I'm still kind of confused in terms of the Keanu Reeves character, who was like his buddy. Then he meets the girl. Then he's kind of leaving his friend. And then the next time you see him, he like doesn't even want to acknowledge that part of his life. And he's trying to mix with his, his higher echelon society friends kind of thing. And it was like, okay, so why nothing in the film kind of shows us, at least that I remember, why he was wanting to do that. Now, if that was clear as day in the film and I just missed it, well, okay, then I just missed it. But it seems like the whole thing was like that. And, why are they on the journey? Why are they doing this? Why are they putting on the pink robes and chasing the people through the park? And none of that really seemed to be clearly stated in the movie.
So one of the things that, because I read a couple of different, because I was like, I'm lost, so I'm going to go online and I'm going to find a couple of other reviews and I'm going to read what the other people are saying about this. And because I don't want to be that person that's like, I don't get the movie, so it's stupid.
Right.
I don't want that to ever be my response with any movie I don't understand. So I was trying to understand, and some of what I read, and I get it, and I understand what those, what these reviews are saying. It still is not, I don't know. It's just not my movie. I don't know that it's not for me necessarily, but what these reviews are saying is basically it's an exploration of either love lost or love never realized. And so just kind of this whole exploration of, and maybe that starts with his mother, the idea of not having his mother around, and that being a trigger for his narcolepsy. And then he wants to love, Keanu Reeves's character, and he, wants a father figure. These guys want a father figure in, the one guy practically has two dads. And then, River Phoenix's character is, his dad is also his brother. So you've got the messed up relationship there. So I think I can understand that if part of the message of the movie or part of the purpose of the movie is an exploration of just showing you, maybe there's no point. Maybe the point is you're never going to realize, a love that will fulfill you. Maybe that's what he's trying to say, which is kind of sad. But maybe you'll never realize that. So you end up on the same road you were always on before, even after you went through these experiences of trying to find love, even going halfway across the world to find love, either whether from your mother or when Keanu falls in love with the Italian girl. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. And I can see that. Like when I think back to watching the movie last week, I'm like, all right, well, I can see that as it being an exploration of that kind of idea, but I don't know. You come back to the same spot you started in, and I just don't really feel like the characters moved at all. And maybe that's the point. Maybe they weren't supposed to move, but then at the same time, I'm like, well, then maybe I'm just a simpleton that likes my characters to make a little progress.
No, I hear what you're saying. Sorry, Dennis, go ahead. I cut across you.
Go ahead, Pat. You're just not back there.
I was just going to say real quick, I compare it to another art form. I remember in my studies learning about different kinds of music that, hey, we like music that's song and dance. Most of the music we listen to can either fall into a song or a dance, right? It's lyrical and beautiful to listen to. It's rhythmic and we want to move. Whether it's pop, hip hop, classical, whatever. If you present us with music that's not of those categories, that's a challenge to us. And many times, unless you just like stuff that's different or weird or whatever, you need that explanation of, okay, this is what you're listening to. This is why it sounds that way. And it takes a while. You need to check out different pieces. You need to read about it. You really need to take an active role to understand music that isn't presented as either song or dance, right? Pop music, we can understand right away, right? It's a groove. It's a hip hop thing. It's a electronics dance music. It makes you want to move. Good. Or old school pop music, whatever, right? Go back to the Middle Ages. Pop music from back then was the same thing, right? It had a rhythm. People would dance their dances to it, or it was some beautiful song that you'd like to listen to, right? We can understand that. And it could be high end or it could be low end, but as long as it falls into those categories, we'll get it. The same thing with movies. If you give us a movie that has high-end concepts and all that kind of thing, as long as, it's got entertaining acting in it and all that, oh my gosh, this is great. When you're presented with something that's pretty different or that's experimental, or you can get into that, but you need a lot of explanation in terms of, okay, what am I looking at? Why am I thinking, like everything that you just started to explain? And that's what when I watch this movie, I apply that thought process to this. Okay, there's bits of it that, okay, I'm kind of laughing at that, or hey, that's cool, but when you string it all together, I'm like, all I notice is the stuff that I'm missing. And what it comes down to is, just like music, I like music that's either song or dance. Movies, I like movies that are telling me a clear story, whether it's going to make me laugh, cry, action, or whatever. When you don't have that, it's hard, and you really need someone. I need someone to take me by the hand and explain it to me and sit down and go through it piece by piece. And maybe I have to have the companion guide to read along with as I'm watching it to help me out. Maybe I need to see this a couple of times, but whatever is going on, it's real hard to wrap my head around and understand what the message is, because I'm having a hard time understanding exactly what I'm watching.
So there's an interesting little piece. I was starting to read it on the trivia section on IMDb, and I will, since we try to stay family friendly, we'll edit out a word or two. It says a short scene was cut from the end. It showed that the driver of the car that picked up Mike was his brother, and that Mike would be safe with his family. And then Gus Van Sant is quoted as saying, "I cut that end bit for a couple of reasons. First, it really tied everything up in a nice little bow. I think it works much better with the ambiguity. Second, I realized in editing that the movie was about making your own families, not being tied to the one you're born with, and Mike's brother had been portrayed as kind of a jerk. So maybe ending up with his family isn't for the best. Who knows who's in that car? Could be the love of his life who takes him to Italy. I don't know."
I thought it was Hans.
Oh, could be. Mike, I'm very excited.
It's wonderful to see you again.
I almost went the other, like I went more the ambiguity way.
It's easy for you to say.
The word today. In the sense that it felt almost like a hopeless, dangerous sort of thing. Like, somebody just picking him up, and there's this kid, like he was there to be exploited and to be taken advantage of. And I felt like the narcolepsy, I'm guessing is just like, obviously it's his way of dealing with the abandonment of his mom and his family and upbringing and all that. Cause every time he had thoughts of her, things like that, he would start to shake and it would like trigger in this high stressful situations. So it's kind of like he has this weakness and it's just going to continually be exploited by strangers. That's what I took from the ending, that he didn't go anywhere from the beginning. It started off where he was basically being exploited by a stranger. And then, and then where I felt like he almost felt like he didn't have a choice, where Keanu's character was rebelling and everything he was doing was a choice. So one person had a bit of a choice of like, I've got this life, but I hate my dad, so I'm going to rebel right now. The other one is I never had really a family, and my mom, all these other, like his whole screwed up kind of, he was running away from it, not out of rebelliousness, but out of a sense for some sort of belonging. And that's where I then think the campfire scene shows a contrast of those two worlds, where one was like, hey, I don't sleep, I don't like whatever, like, I only do it for money. Like it's just business. It's a choice for me. And I'm just doing it this way. Where the other one, he just was lost. So there's this lost kid trying to connect with this other person who's almost like doing it out. And that's how he could be so cold when he sees him later, is like, because it was all just a rebellious kind of F you to your dad, to his dad. And then when his dad died, he took over that life and came out of that, where Mike didn't have those options. He was stuck in that, and that was the way he was. So it just was a very hopeless ending to me, not a hopeful ending. And I was hoping for, if there was one character in the movie you wanted some hope for, it was Mike, because he just seems to be the most abused, lost soul throughout the whole thing. And that doesn't change. So what's, and again, is that the point? I don't know. But I think for Gus Van Sant to say, hey, maybe it was some lady from Italy or whatever, like if that's what he said, I'm like, no, I don't buy that. It doesn't work for me at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I never got any idea that was somebody who we both, an Autumn, my daughter too, I think both had the same thing of like this feeling of like, that's like just a hopeless ending. Like, thank you. I can't get this hour and whatever, half back. And
right.
What was your point of movie other than making me feel, I know this world exists. I know people like this exist, and you can either shine light on that so we can do something about that, or you can, but if you're just kind of showing it to me, and in a way, like I said, coming back to sort of the tying in with the Henry IV and a little bit of the mockish sort of like the introducing all those different characters on the gay magazines, I felt it was like almost like a mockery exploitation sort of, that's the vibe I got. And I don't know why I couldn't get that. And that's why I almost didn't like it in that term of, I felt like it was a little voyeuristic sort of, I don't know. And I guess, I'll throw this out there too, and I'm not sure that I'm not slandering anybody. I'm just saying that I know that there was some time period back in the day, and I love Good Will Hunting, and I love what he did with that, and I love many other Gus Van Sant films, but it's hard not to watch this film in the light of Hollywood and, the Harvey Weinstein and the, all the different kind of scandals that are out there, how it's been, so many characters and so many people have said that this has been a norm of people exploiting people. And I know that in some, I try to look it up and I can't say that, so I don't want to slander anybody, but I'm like, I know that on some things there was a list of like all these names, and, and Gus Van Sant was one of those names of like, exploiting young people in Hollywood. And, and you wonder why so many of them have the drug issues and sort of, and early deaths, and like look at River Phoenix. And I mean, there's been so many who've claimed, what was it? Who's the Corey Haim, so many out there. And I'm like, it spilled into some of maybe this experience too. I don't know. Cause I felt there was a lot of sort of exploitation feeling to me in this thing. Yes.
I felt it's interesting to hear you say that about the end, because I felt the same way. Like with that one person, because the other people came and they did exploit him. They like took his boots. And I think they took his wallet. And
they said that right before. Exactly. Yeah. Somebody took all of his stuff, and then all of a sudden another person picked him up and nothing to do with him. It's probably worse than taking the boots. That's kind of the feeling I had.
Yeah, because then that second person pulls up and like, oh, what's this person?
Kind of looks right. Yeah. Like, hey, here's this kid out in the middle of the road that no one knows. He's obviously like either on drugs or passed out or whatever. I'm not there to help. There's no phone, like there's no idea of like, there's no sense of somebody helping somebody or checking on somebody. It was kind of like, hey, just throw this person in the car and I'm going to have my way. Mm-hmm. And again, maybe that was because the whole movie was kind of taking it to a negative tone versus a, any sort of positive or hopeful one as much as you wanted one to be there. And again, without bashing everything, I mean, I think the campfire and what I think, John, you said, like the loves, like love lost and love never experienced and all that. And it was like kind of Keanu Reeves' character was obviously had the dad who was so busy, who never, was all business and never was there for him. So there was no love there. But then there were, and then there was Mike's character, so it was like that campfire scene was probably the best scene of the movie, in terms of acting. And I think, and sort of an attempt to get to characters. And even that was pretty sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That scene comes up a lot in the reviews and
yes.
And there's some stories about how like that whole scene was written and partially directed by River. And I mean, it's awesome for sure.
But again, you can throw in anything. You could throw male, female characters in there. You could throw anything on that love. I think that's what the one piece people can maybe identify is where you had, expressing love for somebody that wasn't returned. And, so that was the more relatable piece of everything for me. It was that probably scene of like, oh, well, okay. And that's sad, but what's going to happen? Then you're hoping that that's why later on, with him knowing this, the fact that he could then completely ignore him later on, and was he really his best friend? He said he was his best friend, but really, I don't know. You feel for Mike at the end of the whole thing, and it's like there's a lost kid who's just literally destroyed. And thank you for showing me that. I really feel better about the world. Kind of like Irreversible, the movie we had talked about before. I had a very similar feeling of Irreversible. I remember that movie. I think we had talked about it maybe on another podcast before.
Yeah,
where it goes backwards, and it's
I watched it.
Pat's favorite, Monica Bellucci's in that, and and there's just some.
Please tell me you didn't watch it.
Watch, and then in the end, you're like, okay, yeah, life's great. Happy Monday.
Yeah, Pat, please tell me you didn't watch that one.
That would have broken several TVs.
Yeah.
At attempt to get to that guy.
Yeah. I'm coming through the screen, man.
Yes.
Coming through the screen at you.
He's a race car in the red.
Yeah, and
Have you all, Bo, have you seen Irreversible?
I feel it's ringing bells. When you said the name, it didn't. But then as you said more, I was like, oh,
the movie goes backwards. The movie goes backwards, and you start to see things unveil that happen along the way. And and there's some pretty intense.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most intense scenes I've ever. Literally, remote in hand, picked up several times, stop button almost pressed.
Yep.
Looking at Shannon at the time, and do we stop this? Do we stop this? I feel like I shouldn't be watching this.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like, make it stop.
Yeah.
Where this wasn't that extreme, but there's still that feeling of ugh. And again, is that Gus Van Sant's goal?
Well, and I'm going to keep comparing it to Drugstore Cowboy. I watched that movie, and there was a compelling story there. I wanted to see what happened to the characters, and there was a message in there, a very poignant message, as I remember. And there was an interesting story, and the characters, like I really couldn't relate to them, and there was some parts that kind of made you cringe. But I kept watching because I wanted to find out what happened to the characters. In this, I'm never given a chance to get to know the characters, so why do I care about them? Yeah, there's difficult scenes, and yeah, okay, well, this happens, and that's not the best. And hey, I couldn't find myself understanding all the characters' motivations and the why. And without that, it's hard to invest in the movie. Even if there's stuff that's going to make me cringe and, why am I watching all this? I was just more confused. Like, what are the motivations? Why is this happening? And a few of those things I could piece together, but it's sort of like, hey, if I'm piecing it all together and I'm putting it all, well, then the movie's not doing it. So that cycles back to why I'm not fully invested in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, the whole funeral scene with the two funerals going side by side, two extremes. I kind of get the kind of the wealthy and then the poor. You know, if there's a play on that with society, and you know, I don't know. That was just, you know, what would be the odds that funeral's happening at the same time that's, and I get that there's an intent to that, and that's what he's doing, but it was just all kind of just like, I think maybe, Pat, did you say disjointed earlier or something?
Yeah, disjunct. I said disjunct, but disjointed. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just like, oh yeah. And I don't know. I think it would have, I feel like, I don't know, maybe maybe it would have been a better film had they gone with more of a traditional, more serious versus all the artsy kind of, maybe the artsy stuff is what screws us up. I don't know. Like, I really still can't put a complete,
yeah, just the different,
like, you know, showing the house. I get with the metaphor when that little cabin comes on the road and crashes, and then you wake up and he's with this guy Bob, or not Bob, but this other dude, and it's like, you know, starting off the movie like that. Like, I get those little kind of, it's not Clockwork Orange-ish, but it's sort of like just, you know, like the magazine covers and all that. Like, it was just a weird, very artsy film, but I almost feel it would have stayed more true to explore these characters, explore the relationships, you know, maybe give us some hope. You don't have to end with completely all hope or whatever, because it can be realistic and gritty, but I just feel like I don't like the tone mixed with the subject there. I don't know. There's just something that just rubbed me the wrong way on it. I don't know.
So, question about the time that this movie is made, and Dennis, maybe this is a question that you can answer a little bit better, because you were older than the rest of us when, you know, we're talking like late 80s, early 90s-ish. So one of the things that I think this movie is trying to reflect a little bit is just kind of like a feeling of aimlessness. And sometimes you look back on like the culture of teenagers in the late 80s on through the 90s, and you kind of just have this sense of everybody's just kind of aimless. Like, we don't, even in TV shows and sitcoms and things like that, kind of reflected this idea of, well, we don't really know where we want to go or what we want to do. I mean, did that, you know, I think you said earlier that you wouldn't have seen this in the theater or anything like that, but would there have been anything of that kind of a story if it had focused on the idea of being a teenager in the early 90s? I mean, did you, as a person, did you feel any of that? Yeah, I just feel kind of aimless right now, and I'd relate to a story that reflected that.
I think it's possible, but again, like alluding back to like the, you know, where I was like in life, I was sheltered from a lot of that world. You know, you're raised, you know, Catholic, and I think that has something. And so just different family structure and close family and brothers and, you know, and I don't know, like this just seemed like the seedy underworld that I had that blocked me, I think, probably from watching that. And then again, I'm guessing watching the first 5 minutes where you see, you know, him receiving oral sex from this just stranger old guy would have creeped me out back then. So that would have blocked any sort of connection I might have had to this theme of, because I think everybody feels it. I know my kids are feeling it right now. They're both at that age of like, what am I going to do with my life? And what do I do? And, you know, I have dreams, but people say that you don't shoot for dreams because it's not realistic. And, you know, and do this and just drop into the 9-to-5 world. And, you know, so I think every kid goes through that. I think that the way this was presented, though, would have prevented me from making that connection to that piece that I might have identified with. There was you know, again, you have the homosexuality block, and you have the seediness when, again, whether this was prostitutes and whether it was, you know, females, male, female, doesn't matter. This would have been something that, like, for me, I would have been more in shock, because that world was not something that I was accustomed to or used to seeing. And it would have turned me off to getting at any deeper message about the angst sort of feeling of teens at the time. I would not have identified with it then. But yeah, at that time, I think we all felt that, you know. I mean, we were growing up in a world where people were thinking also, like, you know, you had the Reagan years and, you know, and the Cold War, you know, you had all the nuclear day after and a lot of those things happening. So it was always like, what's the point of like going and doing, like, there was not, I wasn't like that, but I know people were like, what's the point of me going to college, because we're just going to blow the world up, you know? And like that threat was there, and people had felt that. And I think there was a sense of angst and hopelessness and what do I do with my life, and does it matter, and is it just all going to be for now? Like, there are people I know who had that and felt that, but I wouldn't have made the connection with this film with that, because those other blocks based on me not being able to identify with that would have been a turnoff.
Yeah.
What were TV shows that you would say that were like that you were saying there was TV shows at the time? What would be, I guess I'm searching for some.
Well, I'm just thinking of like, I feel like you had characters in different shows that, I don't know, I just feel like in the 90s in particular, you just kind of had a lot of characters that were, for lack of a better term, kind of a bum. One that jumps to mind right now is, you have somebody like the TV show Blossom that had, was it Joey Lawrence? That was his name. His character, I feel like you had, I feel like in different shows in the 90s, you almost always had some kind of a character that was like that. And I mean, in the 80s as well, but I don't know. It just, for some reason, it seems like, and maybe it was because I grew up more in the 90s. I was a teenager in the 90s. That seems, looking back on it, it seems a little bit more prevalent. But maybe, it was always there.
Fresh Prince, there's Growing Pains, Family Matters. But see, I always felt there was this kind of theme element to it, and a hopefulness to those shows as well. And like, Fresh Prince, we discussed that in a previous episode, had some very heavy themes to it.
Yeah.
There was always hope. There was always, what's his name? The dad. I can't think of the dad's name right now. What's his name? What's the dad in Fresh Prince? You guys should know that.
The dad or the father figure?
The father figure, I mean, yeah.
Uncle Phil.
Basically, Phil, Uncle Phil. Like, there was always that to ground you, to give you hope. And so I never really felt that it was that. So if anything, it helped you move through those, where I guess this is where I feel like that movie's missing that. And here is the attempt to be Bob. Is Bob supposed to be that father figure that, that Keanu Reeves character never had, Steve? And I'm like, but then he's really just exploiting him too. And he even says that. And even like Steve sort of like gets that he did that, he took, like he was a pedophile basically. And it was because I assume he was much younger when that all, went down. But I feel this is ineffective in the way where if it would have pulled from some of those TV shows where you can cover that territory, but also I feel like you got to give, I feel like you should be giving some people hope. I think that's what people go to movies for. I guess it maybe comes down to that. You can shock us, you can make us feel disgusted, you can make us feel angry at something, but I think you want to leave the audience with some sort of sense of hope of something that they can do. Otherwise, you've made in my opinion, the filmmaker has made the world a little bit more darker versus, hey, I identify with the darkness. It's there. But there's always glimpses of light. And I don't know if that's really the case in here. Like one of the darkest, most just like horrible films is in terms of like content is It's a Beautiful Life. Like I love that film. I mean, you think about what happens in there, and in that film, It's a Beautiful Life. It's a horrible like event that's happening, and bad things happen, and even bad things happen to the characters that you love. But at the end, there's just this element of hope that's still there. And I think you could take people in the dark waters and deep waters, but man, throw them a life preserver, Yeah. And I feel like there was no life preserver in this film.
Yeah.
I can't think of one positive thing to take out of this. Like, wow, well, this happened. I mean, can you? Can anybody?
No.
Where's one ray of sunshine in this thing? I don't know where there is. Is it to say that Steve got out and Steve was now, with the high class society? No, because he was also kind of a jerk to people that he said that he cared about.
Right.
Well, and it seems like that was always his plan.
And it was, but like even then, would there be like I'm just saying? So like there's never, so he wasn't really the greatest guy either because it was kind of his plan and did he exploit that whole situation? Like, this is just the way I rebel. And like, in other words, I almost feel like that, like Steve's character exploited this as a way to rebel and get back at his dad, where those people, it was a way of life. And he used their way of life just as a rebelliousness. And then when he didn't need it anymore, it was like, F you, and that, I don't know. I'm still processing the film, obviously.
Yeah.
it was like I said, after I saw it, me and Autumn talked a little bit about it, and it was just like, and we couldn't quite. It was just disappointing because we were expecting something better. And again, now I am not going to say that the performances weren't excellent. They were excellent. I'm talking about story and content. I'm not talking about performances by, River, and it's always great. Great actor. Shame that yeah. Just makes you sad about that too, maybe, Yeah. I had read somewhere too, when I was looking up some of the stuff, and somebody had said that, maybe he was a victim of all this, being a young, cute, pretty much heartthrob kid growing up. And then he also had him and Joaquin grew up in a very almost cult-like family. And you wonder if there was issues of abuse and different things there. And did those things lead to, his drug dependency and his untimely death? I don't know. It's just, so all those things make you think, I don't know, there's just a lot of that kind of boiled into it. And then you lose this person who's a great actor. So,
yeah,
because it didn't like Joaquin and River are famously vegan, and and usually vegans are pretty empathetic, whether it's your animals or whether it's health, whatever. So, but then to do the drugs sort of goes against being the healthy vegan type of thing. So, is there some sort of underlying trauma, that causes somebody to try? So you can play in all that. Me and Autumn talked a little bit about that as well, but yeah. We were wondering. And then when you have the light of all the stuff that goes on in Hollywood, yeah, you wonder.
Yeah.
So just a hopeless film, man. It's just,
it's not a whole lot redeeming about it.
I remember, I think after it was over, it's like, Autumn does this with horror films. So whenever we watch a good scary movie or a good horror film, it's like, okay, before I go to bed, we need to put on some cartoons. We need to put on something.
Need a palate cleanser. Yeah.
You go look for something funny. And I think we went to Superstore or something like that and watched a couple episodes, because you need something to go to bed where you're not just sitting there like, God, life sucks.
Well, we'll be watching episodes of like Yellowstone or something like that. And it might be a pretty rough episode, and somebody's just, beating somebody else nearly to death. And it's like, all right, well, it's about time to go to bed. You want to just real quick put on an episode of Cheers?
Yeah. So that's what we needed to do in this thing.
Just so we get some sleep tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do we have anything else we want to say about this one before we jump into 3 questions? No? Go watch something a little more hopeful? Unless you just want to come away from watching a movie feeling this way? Yeah. So you wanted to talk about it's Pat, so we need to talk motorcycles for a moment.
Yeah, Pat said it was getting better at one point, and it was when the motorcycle popped up.
Yeah, like all of a sudden he comes on screen riding that Norton Commando, and I mean, great sound, and it was a fun scene, like the way it was shot, where he was going down the road and the whole thing, and then they had like the clutch lever cam. I thought that was pretty cool. It was watching that, and just an beautiful motorcycle. What an awesome bike. And it featured so much into the film, and they really had some nice shots of that bike. I mean, first of all, when you first see it, him riding it down the street was cool. And then when he was trying to kickstart the thing, just seeing it from the back, that was a really great view of the bike. The way the pipes come up and everything, just that rear shot, it just looked awesome. And then I think, what was the other shot that was great? It was when he went, was it to his brother's house or wherever the heck it was? And you just see that it was that house, and you see kind of the countryside behind it. And then the bike was just sitting there. And I think it was from the, like a 3/4 to the right shot on the bike. And it just kind of was framed out nicely. And yeah, what a great motorcycle. And I told Dennis, I'm like, yep, movie just got better. I can't tell you anything that was happening in those scenes other than that really awesome bike was going down the road. And, Keanu Reeves being a motorcyclist and like lover of motorcycles and, owner of a motorcycle manufacturing company, like the whole thing. I was like, I'm going to do some research because I bet you there's something with that bike. And I think that was his personal bike that he rode on a trip to go tell River Phoenix to convince River Phoenix to take this role. And that just makes it that much cooler. And the fact that I'm trying to figure out what Keanu's age was when he shot this movie. But that was his personal bike that he was riding around on a Norton Commando, which at the time was only be about, I think it was a 73 or a 74. So, I mean, my understanding, no math. I mean, that's a 17-year-old bike, but yeah, dude, that's a pretty sweet ride. So anyways, that's pretty cool stuff, man.
26, 27.
Oh, was in this? He was 26 or 27?
Born in 64, so 74, 84. Yeah, so 27.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? I thought that he was younger. So, hey, whatever age, man, the guy has great taste in motorcycles. Keanu's just awesome anyway. But just what a great bike. And you're using your own bike in the movie, which I want to say also, strangely enough, they did in Stone Cold. He was using his bike in that one too. So
that's right,
man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I think when they shot the band director, I think the guy that starred in the band director used his motorcycle in that movie. So it's a good tradition.
It's a common movie trope you see a lot.
Yes. Yeah. It's, but yeah, just beautiful motorcycle. And the sound of it was great. I think that was the sound of a Norton. If not, then, whatever they used as the overdub sounded great. So I just, like I said, the motorcycle scene's really kind of, I would almost say worth the price of admission for this movie.
Excellent.
I would go back. Like if I saw this on, I would be like, oh, I'm going to hit record and then I can just go back and fast forward to the bike scenes. But yeah, I want to definitely give a shout out to that bike because, yeah.
The Norton Commando.
You approved of the color, correct?
Pardon me?
You approved of the color?
Yeah, it was that beautiful yellow.
Because you tend to get like I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if like color of the bike makes a big difference for you.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? All the colors. I've got my favorite colors. I love red and black are my two favorite colors. So usually if I was going to buy a motorcycle, I'd have some scheme like that. But yeah, man, there's some bikes that just look good in certain colors, and that Norton looked great in yellow.
Yeah.
Like some Ducatis look great in black with gold pinstriping on them, or maybe not pinstriping, but gold accents around it. Silver Triumphs, green Triumphs, red Ducatis, red Hondas.
Blue moons, green clovers, purple hearts.
Yeah. Just, you know what? You should just probably mute my microphone and then I'll just talk for the next 45 minutes on cool colors for motorcycles.
Hey, you wanted to talk about the Norton Commando. I'm just excited that you get to go commando for a little bit.
I love it. And that's the other thing too, is sometimes not necessarily the most reliable for long trips was kind of one of the problems with those bikes. Because especially when that was made, that's, I think, right when Norton, the company, that was starting to go down. Because in the 70s, all the British bikes, they were struggling because the Japanese bikes had moved in and they were, more reliable and just kind of like evolved engineering wise. And so when you have a bike like that, like a vintage bike like that, you're going to be working on it to keep it running. And now with the internet and all that kind of stuff, like, you can get parts and all that. But back in the day, you'd have to go to swap meets or, go have a mechanic that you knew that could get you parts for, British motorcycles that were no longer made. And so, Keanu's riding around on one in 91. I mean, that's just pretty sweet, man. But Keanu's awesome. You know what? Well, his name means a cool breeze or what was it? A chill breeze? A cool breeze over the mountains or something is what Keanu means. And, dude, that's right. Because the guy's got a pretty awesome motorcycle.
Awesome.
Yeah. I want to say I saw an interview with him and he was being interviewed in his garage where he had all the motorcycles and they had the bike used in The Matrix. Reloaded, the one that Trinity escaped on with the keymaker, and like he was talking about that bike, and he's like, "Yeah, this is the one," and blah 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 blah. And so I got it after the filming, and it's great. And then he kind of pauses and he goes, I'm doing a track day tomorrow, and maybe we'll take this one. And he kind of looks off screen to like, I guess one of his buddies or whatever. He's like, "Hey man, let's get the Ducati, let's get the Matrix Ducati prep for the track tomorrow." I'm just like, okay, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. That whole like last 30 seconds was, I rewound that and watched that a couple of times. He's talking all about this movie bike, and he's like, "Yeah, let's prep that one for the track. I'll ride that one tomorrow." I'm like, dude, you're awesome. That is great.
Now, did you see this in pieces, Pat, the movie?
Did I fall to pieces while watching it, or
through watching it, or because it sounded like you said that you had seen part of it, and then you told me, "Hey, it's getting better because the motorcycle came in."
Yeah.
Which metaphorically, hey, it's going somewhere. Literally, they're going somewhere physically. The story's going somewhere, and then in the end, it ends up with Hans, and it's so disappointing.
I know. That was kind of funny. I felt bad.
And he ended up getting the motorcycle at the end. That guy.
Yeah. Well, that was funny. Yeah, he gets the motorcycle and then he gets pulled over, and then you're just kind of like, "Oh," you're like, "You know how fast you were going? You're too fast for this road." And it was kind of like, due respect. I mean, hey, thanks for keeping us safe, but you're on a country road. Like, you're only going to hurt yourself. I mean,
Isn't this where you're supposed to open up the motorcycle?
And I mean, like, honestly, that bike, I mean, if you're doing anything over, well, I mean, it's not like you're going to be doing 150 miles an hour on that. So you're maybe you'll get 100. So, I mean, okay, how much damage are you really going to do? I mean, you're more like, if you're willing to take a vintage bike that fast that it's bad on a road like that, like, hey man, go for it. Like if you're gutsy enough to do that on a vintage bike like that, okay.
I thought he was pulling him over because the bike was stolen. Because didn't they reference that earlier?
Well, that's yeah. Well, and then that was the funny part. The two guys got pulled over, and the bike was and all that. And then the one guy took off running, but he fell asleep in the middle of running away.
Why is he running? Why is he running?
Yeah, he thinks he doesn't like cops or whatever. Well, that was the part I was going to call shenanigans because, like I said, just going back, vintage bike, you steal that, like whoever the owner is, it's not going to be, okay. It's going to be like, I got to find my bike. And, there's not a lot of Nortons rolling around. So
it's a different version of Taken.
Yeah. Now that's interesting, man. That's interesting.
That's the next movie. Pat, somebody steals your bike. It's kind of like Pee-wee's Big Adventure then.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kind of a mix between Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Starring Pat. That's the next film.
Pat's Big Adventure.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey guys. Guys, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you want. But I'm just telling you right now, I have a very specific set of skills, and if you do not bring this bike back right now, I will hunt you down, I will find you, and I will kill you. I'm gonna go get some food real quick before I fall asleep, but I'm gonna kill you if you don't bring that bike back.
Man, I'm gonna.
Pee-wee does also contain one of the best motorcycle scenes ever.
That is true.
Oh yeah.
We still laugh out loud at that one. I don't laugh out loud at too many movies, but man, that scene will still get me when he's like, "All right, guys," vroom, vroom, and he's driving. It's filming. It's quiet. I don't think there's any music playing. He just goes off and just hits the billboard and crashes. It's just like, okay.
And then the guys are all looking at him like,
looking at him. It's just like perfectly. Could have shot that better, man. It's just amazing.
All right, 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right. Question number 1. If you were narcoleptic, where would be the worst place to fall asleep?
That question kind of hits close to home. So I don't know. The Gremlins 2 episode, a field trip bus. There's many things.
I was going to say a public bus. Would
A
be
public
pretty bad.
bus.
In a movie theater watching Logan. Or no, it wasn't Logan. It was the Wolverine.
It was the Wolverine. The drive down to the state cross country meet when your guy riding in the car with you can't drive a stick shift. I mean, like there's, I suppose the most dangerous might be like behind the wheel of a vehicle or something. I think that would be bad.
That's true. I went with the sky deck on the Sears Tower because I feel like I'd wake up and just freak out. Because I don't
That's
I would
awesome.
never go on that thing to begin with because the whole heights and just standing on some glass platform, no thank you. So I think if I were to like somehow pass out and like roll onto the sky deck and then suddenly wake up and feel like I'm floating millions of miles up in the air, no, not a chance.
You'll believe a man can fly.
Yeah, you'll also believe a man can like jump right out of his skin. I would look like a Looney Tunes cartoon. I'd leave my skeleton behind and like my skin would be running off in the other direction. All right, well otherwise other than somewhere near me while I've got a Sharpie in my hand, what about the rest of you?
Public bus, any public transportation, nastiness things that people might do.
Mm-hmm.
I would just kind of worry that I'd miss my stop and I'd end up in like Kenosha.
There's that. There's definitely that.
I will say, whenever I get on the Metro, the way to really fly, going into the city, I'm always like, this is great because I'll sleep. I just fall asleep, and because I know if I wake up, I'll be down in the city.
Right.
It's leaving the city that it's like terrifying because I'm like, oh crap, like I can't, I gotta yeah.
Okay.
Dennis, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I was just going to say, I like coming out of the city, I got to go stand somewhere. I got to go stand like in the little entryway so that when if I fall asleep standing up, at least what do you call the guys on the trains?
Conductor.
The conductor. Yeah. When the conductor comes by, they'll at least know like, okay, this guy is like standing up, sleeping against the caution. The doors are about to close. We better pull him back.
Serious.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Dennis. I'm sorry. I didn't give you a chance there.
I would say like I went like with you guys first initially, like driving a vehicle, or a plane or in the swimming in the ocean. And then I finished with something more, I think a little bit more milder. I thought like in terms of that's just going to lead to like death, but I might not even know it. It would be fast. So whatever. I think I said on a toilet would be probably, I want to fall asleep in a public toilet somewhere at a location that isn't very, like kind of some strange town somewhere where you're out in the middle of nowhere and you went to a gas station and fell asleep on that toilet where there's a lot of missing person signs up on the wall.
God, what public toilets do you go to?
You ever driven out to California?
Yikes.
There's a few places along the way where you're like, yeah, let's keep moving.
Keep driving.
I can hold it.
I don't know what was it? The one with Kurt Russell? Yes, Kurt Russell. So Kurt Russell's in that movie with where he's driving across somewhere, like they're driving out, remember, and his wife, and then all of a sudden, their car. It's has anybody seen that one? You know what I'm talking about? The wife gets kidnapped or gets taken. Missing. It's like something not missing. One of you have seen that movie. I think we've talked about it because one of the bad guy, and it's really a good actor, died recently, or a few years back. But anyway, in that movie, there's a scene that's like so creepy, and we always think of it where they're at a gas station, they're out in the middle of kind of nowhere, and there's just like this list of missing persons, like all posted up on the thing, you know, and it's like that's an eerie feeling when you're in a place where you don't know where you're really at.
Is it
obviously driving through as a tourist,
yeah,
and you're just seeing a list of, you know, missing people.
Is it called Breakdown?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Who's the main actor? It's now I know it's Kurt Russell and then the lady, but then who is the
JT Walsh?
JT Walsh. Yes. Great actor. Yeah. Great in that performance. Yeah.
So the other falling asleep thing that I've actually done is when I was in 8th grade. We lived in 1 year in this house in a little town in Southwest Missouri, same town that some of my grandparents lived in. And I remember I'd get up in the morning and start to get ready for school. And we had this kind of like this heater that was built into the wall that was right next to the bathtub. You know, this house, it didn't have a shower. It just had the bathtub. So I remember I'd get up, and of course I'm a 13, 14-year-old kid, so I don't really wake up very well in the morning. And I'd get up, I'd go into the bathroom, and I'd start to turn on the tub. And then I'd also turn on this heater, especially when it was in the wintertime. And I'd kind of like curl up on the floor next to the heater while the tub was filling up with water. And one morning I woke up just as the water was about to spill over the edge of the tub. I was like, oh, my mom would have killed me if I had done that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I thought skydiving too, you know, if I fell asleep jumping out, but
that would be
again, that would be a fast death unless you wake up and you're like, you didn't pull the parachute and you got like 30 seconds before you hit the ground.
That's true.
So I don't know.
That is true.
Pulling into the house, you know, after a day, and sometimes I'm just like, dude, I just got to go to sleep. I always make sure to like, you know, like two things would I ever do. I pull the car in the garage, and it's always key completely out of the car, garage door down. Those two things in that order, and then I know I'm safe. Like, I don't want to fall asleep with the garage door open, and I don't want to fall asleep with the garage door shut and the car's still running. So I'm always like, those are my last two thoughts when I pull in after, you know, you mentioned a concert last night. I got into the garage and it was like, okay, key completely out of the ignition, hit the garage door. Even like I'll do that as I'm falling into sleep. Key out, garage door down, bam. And then sometimes I'll sleep
I never close the garage door until my car's off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's and like, I don't even want to like be half asleep and get it wrong. Like, I mean, it's, you know, those are always my last two thoughts is it's like key completely out of the ignition. You know what I'm saying? And then hit the garage door. And then sometimes I'll just like, boom, but I always like, bam, bam, make sure those two things are in place. Just cause yeah, God, you know, God forbid, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not.
Yeah.
Dennis, when you were telling your story about like stopping at a gas station or a public bathroom or something like that, I was a little worried you were going to go into like there's something about Mary rest stop scene.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, I know Dennis goes on a lot of road trips, but I've never gone with him, so I don't know what happens.
You know, what stays on those, what happens on those road trips?
What happens at the rest stop?
Stays at the rest stop.
Unless you get arrested. All right. Question number 2. What is your favorite kind of potato or way to prepare a potato? Because this is the 30-something movie podcast, we have to throw in a food question.
Well, sure.
Well, somebody else is going to take it, but I'm going to say, like my favorite, like healthy potato. I love a sweet potato that's steamed, mashed, and has a little bit of like maybe some like the Thanksgiving kind of you put some marshmallows or something on top. That's like ultimate. Like, I love that. But rosemary, like garlic fries or something like that. Like, they're nice and crispy. Any fries, like, that is a weakness, which isn't a good one for me. I'm off them for a while now. It's like, there used to be a time where I was just literally driving home and, you know, Wendy's is right there by the house. It was like, oh man, maybe they're going to be crispy and hot today. You know, and if they are, this will be the last fry I have for that, you know, for a month. You know, I actually had myself at one point two orders of fries per month, and that's all I can do, because I get the small, you know, order, but fries are a weakness. Just the crunch and the crispiness if they're done. Portillos are like awesome. Yeah. So, yeah.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go sweet potato is my favorite, like a nice steamed mashed sweet potato. I can eat that,
Yummy,
enjoy
yummy.
that, feel good about myself after.
When you if you do the holiday sweet potatoes, do you do them with the marshmallows and the other stuff? Do you also?
Yeah, like
do you
that
also
was
do
my big
do you
thing
also-
in family growing up. Yeah,
okay. Do you also do walnuts?
I can do it without though, so I can still enjoy it without anymore. You know.
Okay. That's what we had those for Thanksgiving, so that's what made me think of it. I'm gonna go with a twice baked potato, and I mean load it up. I mean it should be a heart attack on a plate is what I'm gonna go with. So give me bacon. You know what? Give me bacon on top of my bacon bits. In fact, twice baconed bacon bits. Let's do that too. I don't even know what that means, but let's get some bacon in there. Let's get some maybe like crumpled up blue cheese in there too. A little sour cream.
Oh, you said sour cream.
Oh, you were with me until I said sour cream. I'm not. Well, no. I'm not a
Back
huge.
in the day, growing up, people put sour cream on theirs, and we thought we had to. Like sometimes, like when my mom might make potatoes, and for some reason, sour cream would be there, and they passed it around like you had to put it on there. And I kept going, "Why the hell is ruining the potato?"
Yeah,
you know. And then I realized, like, wait, I don't have to put sour cream on this, dude. I was like, thank God. Like as a kid, you just did what your parents did. Like this is how you eat a potato. It's got sour cream on it. And then I realized I can do it without sour because I hated sour cream. I do not like sour cream.
Well, and I'm not a huge sour cream fan.
You said a little bit.
If you're gonna do it, just a little bit, or butter. I'm good either way. Either one.
Butter is what I would put butter on.
Yeah.
Butter and garlic salt.
Yeah. But yeah, twice baked, twice baconed. I mean, just do it all.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll take that loaded baked potato to the next level. Like, put whatever you've got on it before the place in Libertyville closed. Fines. I mean, you go to their salad bar: broccoli, cheese, bacon, roasted corn,
chili. Did you dump chili on it?
salsa.
Heck, why don't you just put fries on that baked potato?
Hey,
Okay,
you could, sure.
There's nothing wrong with this.
Just with marshmallows.
I still love a chili.
Yeah.
You can't do chili and salsa, but I mean, you gotta be gentle.
You could.
But man, a good loaded baked potato with all sorts of stuff on it.
Oh, you could do chili and salsa at the same time. You're just going to be in that rest stop bathroom for a while, and you might be in there so long you fall asleep.
There you go.
Go missing.
Here you go.
Yeah. Aside, question 2, part B here. Since you guys are both, twice baked potato or baked potato people, what would be the best? What is your go-to restaurant food establishment that has that? Because there are some that are known to have those, like I know McAllister's is big on that.
Yeah, McAllister's.
McAllister's they have a huge one. Hits right here on the corner.
Yeah,
has them. Fines before they closed in Libertyville was my favorite.
Okay, which place? Oh,
Fines.
Yes, I remember that place. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Okay, John, what's your favorite place?
I'd say right now I'd probably say McAllister's. Like anytime I go there, I usually whatever I get. I'll get like a half sandwich and a potato.
Okay.
Now I want a potato.
Yeah, I know.
Do you call them spuds or do you call them potatoes?
Potato.
Potatoes. Spuds is the dog.
We call them spuds over at McAllister's though, and it's funny because I'm not going to say. I just know somebody. I'm not going to say who, but somebody was like at one point, and what's it? SPUD. I had to explain that to them. So
do I know this person as well?
No, I don't think you know.
Right.
No. Right. And I'm not going to say male or female. I'm just leaving it at that.
This is not the same person that could not name who the vice president was a few years ago?
No, it was not.
Okay, all right.
Although maybe that's a possibility. I'll have to ask.
Okay. Educating America's future. Pat, did you give yours, or have you just been thinking the entire time?
I love all the potatoes. I love the potatoes.
While we've been talking, Pat's actually been preparing a potato.
I've been eating potatoes.
I wouldn't put it past him.
No.
I'm just gonna say
he's trying to get one in before he falls asleep.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, thanks. Sorry, guys, I kind of nodded off there. Are we talking about favorite scenes in The Matrix? What are we doing? Okay,
We're talking about waxing on and waxing off.
Oh man, see, I knew that was going to come back. Well, okay. Anyways, the potatoes. My gosh, I just have not met potatoes that I have not liked. I would say my absolute favorite is I love roasted vegetables. You know, you just chop up all different vegetables, olive oil, a little salt, pepper, roast them. Awesome. And chopped up potatoes in there is great. Sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, all different kinds of potatoes. I really like that. Tammy has this recipe for a potato arugula salad that is amazing. It is life-changingly good, and it's with red skin potatoes and arugula, and basically a balsamic vinaigrette type dressing, and it's amazing. Like I can make whole meals out of it. In fact, I make whole meals out of that, and that is beyond good. And so you asked for one, and I'm giving you a list. So I would say those are the top two. You know, potatoes in with roasted vegetables. That Dennis, yeah, the French fries, yeah. I mean, how can you pass on French fries? You know, it's funny. Like you were talking about how, like, you know, growing up, you thought that was always, you know, there was a topping you didn't like so much. What was it? You're saying sour cream, and then you just thought that was the way. I remember with baked potatoes, like I always thought you never eat the skin. You always eat, and then all of a sudden I discovered eating the skin, and it was like, this is amazing. This is the way.
Sir, this is potatoes are like a bison on the plains. You use the entire animal to honor it.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I'll tell you this, and I've done this since I was a little kid. When my mom would be like chopping up potatoes to go in whatever stew or what, I'd come by and I'll eat them raw. I'll eat raw potatoes. I love it. It's like the crunch that you get from an apple, but it tastes like a potato. So yeah, and it absolutely weirded Tammy out. That was one of the things when we got married. One of the things she called my mom. She's like, okay, Patrick's eating raw potatoes. Is that normal? And she goes, yeah, he'd do that all the time. I'd have to chop extra because I just walk by and she'd have all of the potatoes chopped for whatever the recipe, and I'd eat half. And then she'd chase me out of the kitchen, and Tammy has to do the same thing because she'll be chopping potatoes and I'll be just crunching on the raw potatoes. So I love the potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, you just get me thinking of my kids' favorite is they like when I make the when you said about the skins too, is I make the I get the little ones, I steam those, mash those, and when you do mashed potatoes with some bean butter and some garlic salt, and yeah, that's just delicious. Potato wedges, when you get the potatoes, they're guilty. Once in a while, you get those,
roasted potatoes.
Roasted potatoes, the cut up roasted potatoes with some rosemary. Yeah, I mean, any of those are just. There's just so many ways to make a potato. I mean, yeah.
When done right, the buffalo chips they used to have at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes, those were excellent.
Because then you can also use those if you got, if you got some wings or whatever, you could kind of use those to sop up a little bit of the sauce, and it was just if done right, no can defense.
Yeah, because my go-to with all potatoes is if I'm eating a potato, if I'm going to use some sort of dip or sauce, it's always barbecue sauce. So it's Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. But I'm always
now that you said that, and I'm worried we're spending more time talking about this than we did about my own private Idaho. But so here's a question. Here's my daughter does this, and I've seen other people do it too, but I just can't. I don't know. I can't do it. Do you dip your fries into a milkshake?
No.
No. In very specific circumstances.
Okay.
Wendy's fries in a Wendy's Frosty.
All right.
Really? Never occurred to me till you just said that was even a possibility.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, and it's something about Wendy's fries because they're different. They're just different. A McDonald's fry is almost too thin to make it worth doing, right?
Nope.
But a Wendy's fry dipped in that frosty. Yeah,
I think
buddy.
there's a general rule. There's a general rule that the thinner the fry, the less dipping. The thicker the fry, the more the need to dip.
Agreed.
Dang.
Are we still talking about fries?
Yeah.
So steak
The
fries.
big, thick steak fries.
Steak fries,
Red
you
Robin,
gotta-
baby.
You
Those
gotta have
thick.
something with that.
Oh, so good.
Otherwise, you just might as well eat a baked potato. So
Right.
it's turned into the cooking show.
See, what I like to do when I've got those the big thick fries like that is like I'll grill up like peppers and onions, put the fries in there, and put salsa on top.
Oh yeah,
that's really good.
All right. Well, that's. I feel like at some point we all need to go to a restaurant.
John, insert a Homer Simpson clip of him.
Yeah.
Something at this point.
Hey, so I
Forbidden
mean,
donut. Oh.
Yeah.
When you wrote question number 2, did you think you'd get this much time out of it?
No, actually, I did not. Kind of
One
thought it would be
potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4.
I knew we'd probably hover somewhere around like 10 minutes on this question, but I don't even know how long we've gone so far. It might have been like 15 minutes so far. No, I didn't quite think this would get the traction it did. But again, it's us and it's a food question, so I should have known.
French fries.
Potatoes, 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 potatoes.
All right, question number 3. What is your favorite Keanu Reeves drama? So not an action movie. What is your favorite Keanu Reeves drama? And I'm gonna I'm gonna say not action and not comedy. So Bill and Ted is out. The John Wick movies, anything that's kind of actiony is out.
Matrix is out.
Matrix is out.
Matrix is out.
Yep.
I'm gonna jump. Oh man, I don't know. No, I'm not sure yet. Hold on, I'm down to 2.
I'm down to 2 as well.
You pulled comedy out, which made.
I'm thinking more along the lines of a more of a serious drama.
Yeah, I was originally thinking.
Is out then.
What's that?
Hey, wait a minute. Question 2. How did we all miss tater tots?
I said tater tots at the end, but nobody heard me.
Okay.
I didn't hear you. Okay.
You're moving on, and I just whispered. I went tater tots because I figured we got off that question. But I thought right at the end, I go tater tots.
Yeah, we got
to. When you hear it, you'll see it. You'll probably hear me say tater tots. Very quiet.
Respect the tots, man.
Respect the tots. Agreed.
I didn't want to open it up again.
Yeah. I'm saying tater tots and A1 steak sauce.
My wife would agree.
On a
barbecue sauce. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, tater tots. Well, you could do tater tots and A1 on a burger.
There you go. So I was originally thinking Much Ado About Nothing, but that's technically one of Shakespeare's comedies, so that doesn't work.
Well, it's Shakespearean, so I'd give you that.
All right. Since I can't use Parenthood would be considered a comedy, although there's some drama.
I'd lean towards that being a drama.
Okay, so I might say that. Otherwise, I'm going to go with Bram Stoker's Dracula.
There you go.
I'm going to go with. So I think I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with The Devil's Advocate.
Mm-hmm.
And then my runner-up is The Lake House, just because I kind of like the twist in that one.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I got to go Devil's Advocate because that was, I don't know. I love that one. I don't remember how old I was when that came out. I think I was like 15 when that movie came out. And it just, I don't know. There were certain things about that movie that terrified me, but I still loved Al Pacino in that. And Charlize Theron, that was one of her first movies, I feel like, or early on for her. And then Keanu Reeves in that. And I don't know. I can't even tell you how many times I watched that movie in the 90s.
What year is
yes.
that one?
Is that 95?
Is that coming up for us? Is that going to come up for us?
Eventually.
I saw it once in the 90s. I haven't seen it since, and I know I liked it. So
yeah, it's like 95, 90. No, actually 97.
Okay, so we got a while for that.
So it was that was his last movie before he did The Matrix.
Got it.
So, Bo, did you give your answer? What was your answer?
I said Much Ado About Nothing.
Much Ado About Nothing. And then John, You did okay.
I'm going Devil's
All
Advocate.
right. Is the Replacements? That you won't let me squeak by as drama with that one, will you?
You know what? I'd let you have that one.
Okay. Well, let me keep that one in reserve.
Okay.
What about Constantine? Would that qualify?
Yeah, I was looking at that one too.
Yeah, I mean that one. I don't know. Is that one more actiony?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one for me.
His point is, that was we said was action.
Yeah, and the Point Break could be action, and our host doesn't like that movie.
I hate that movie anyway. So
I brought it up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's basically it's like all the things that you felt about My Own Private Idaho is like that's my own private worst least favorite movie. I hate.
Hey.
Point Break. Hey, Utah, give me nothing.
Oh man. Hey, Utah.
A disclaimer
Give
from
me
the
two.
30-something movie podcast. I do like Point Break. I just feel like I need to say that every time.
Oh man. You know what? How about this, man? How about this? This is interesting. What about The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Oh, okay.
I thought he was kind of fun. I thought that was kind of fun. I thought it was fun watching as Klaatu. Did you see The Day the Earth Stood Still?
I did. I mean, that was.
I just like the original better than I like that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. But I'm trying to find a Keanu drama, and that isn't Devil's Advocate or Much Ado About Nothing or whichever one Dennis mentioned.
For Bram Stoker's Dracula or Parenthood, yeah, would be right too.
Yeah.
Let's see. What
was
other
that? Oh yeah, Walk in the Clouds was one. That was a romantic one.
Oh yeah.
I think
But I
that's.
don't-
I
I
think
don't
that's
think
the
I
one
liked
that. I think A Walk in the Clouds might be the one that Sharon always makes fun of.
Yeah, because it wasn't good. I don't think.
Because there's a scene of him isn't he walking through a vineyard going Victoria, Victoria.
Yes.
I remember he was not cast well for that, as far as I remember.
Yeah. Let's see.
I don't know if I just saw Bill and Ted during that, or
Yeah.
like some kid, he got stuck in that for a while. It's unfortunate, but yeah, whoa,
Whoa.
I think he's
let's
overcome
see.
that though now.
We are wild stallions.
Ever see Feeling Minnesota?
I have not. Is it
Keanu Reeves.
pretty awesome?
It's been a long time since I've seen it. It's Keanu Reeves.
We're all gonna feel Minnesota in another couple of weeks.
Well, that's true. Keanu Reeves, Vincent D'Onofrio, Cameron Diaz. That one's more of a drama.
Out of that one.
Let's see. Sweet November. I mean, that's kind of a romance movie. That's him and Charlize Theron again. If you need a date night movie, that's a good one. Sweet November. It's a love story. It's also a little sad. I won't say anything else. Something's Got to Give. Did you ever see that one?
Oh wow, yeah. Huh.
That one would count too. That Diane Keaton, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, that's a good one. Honestly forgot he was in it, to be honest.
I remember watching, and just because it was kind of, I don't know, and the style of camera that I'm using tonight actually fits with this one. Did you ever see A Scanner Darkly?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. It's got Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, Robert Downey Jr., and it was kind of filmed in this only people who can see me right now can tell. It was kind of filmed in this almost cartoonish kind of style.
Like a comic book.
Yeah, it was like a comic book filter overlaid on top of the actors.
My wife hates those.
Oh, really?
Those like the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol, where it's acted but drawn over. Drives her crazy.
Yeah.
It's like the unreal realism, just the uncanny valley, just doesn't work.
I can't remember River's Edge.
Pat remembers River's Edge.
That was that uplifting one with George McFly, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a weird movie.
Sampson has murdered his girlfriend and left her body lying on the bank of a. Yeah. Okay, now I remember. I think I remember it. Okay. Ratings, man.
It was episode number 86 for us.
Yeah, I wasn't on that one. I remember that. I remember you guys were talking about, but I can't remember that one. I think because I hadn't seen it recently, I wasn't on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you mentioned that, I'm gonna have to say Toy Story 4 for my choice.
I'll give you that one.
He was too kaboom.
So I need to go back and listen. What episode is that again?
It is episode number 86.
86. Okay.
86. Right. I will drop this since we're all on Zoom. I will drop the link in the chat there. Then you can just.
And Pat had some interesting.
You know what? If hopefully I got it right and everything like that. I think it was just. I think it was a pretty incredibly well done movie. I just got mad at the people in it. So I guess you could say, hey, the movie did its job. But I was just, if I recall, and I might be all wet on this. I can't remember. I just remember
movie or anything like that. So you automatically just don't like it, or
it was what was it? What did you say?
Patreon, like one of the favorite people,
yeah, it was. We needed to get some It's no.
You just I hate it because somebody else likes it.
Yeah, that's my style, man. I loved it. I love on the hate. No, I think it was a really well done movie. And hopefully I said this in the pod, or maybe I just came to the realization later. I think it was very well done. It just made me angry.
Were you trying to create a pun there when you said you hope you weren't all wet on this, but especially because it was River's Edge and the body was left on the River's Edge, and
you know what? Hanging out with you fine folks has just brought about great changes in me. I didn't mean to do that, and it just happened.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you should say that, because when the girl is murdered and left there, that she's strangled to death. And in the description of the episode, I said, did this movie succeed in making us feel the tension in these kids' lives, or did it ultimately choke?
So what John's saying is he's been setting this up from the beginning.
I've been incepting you all for 6 years.
Have you been planning this all day?
If anyone could.
And don't worry, I'll buy you dinner. It'll be a potato.
Hey, okay. It's all good.
Okay.
Just one potato?
Especially if it's tater tots, there's gonna be a bunch of them.
Oh, tater tots.
There you go.
Or those big spuds from McAllister's. That's really 2 potatoes. I mean, that's not 1 potato. That's impossible.
Or 3 potato 4.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, we've probably exhausted our Keanu Reeves potato knowledge, and fallen asleep in some weird places. So that's going to do it for this episode of the 30-something movie podcast. If you want to find us in some different places, you can go find us at 30podcast.com. We are at 30podcast on most of the different social media outlets. Don't forget to check out our sponsor and the other shows that are in the Scene Stealers podcast network by heading over to scenestealersglobal.com. We have a few episodes left here as we're kind of rounding out the rest of 1991, heading on into 92. For Patreon this month. That one should be coming out pretty soon, probably within the next couple of days or so. We've got our It's a Wonderful Life episode that we did, the 75th anniversary, and we had Jason Colvin from the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast joined us for that one because he'd never seen it before, so that was a great time with him. So if you are a Patreon co-executive producer, you will get that episode as soon as it comes out. If you are not, we do have a preview episode that should already be out by now, I believe. If that has wet your whistle and you want more, then head on over to Patreon, and at any level of support there, you get access to those monthly bonus episodes that we put out. So, head on over there, check that out, especially if you want the full thing. Full thing is like, what do we do, like 3.5 hours long talking about that movie? So you get plenty of bonus content for your donation there. So for the rest of December, we've got, next week is the movie Homicide with Joe Mantegna, and I must insist that you go watch that movie. And then rounding out the rest of the year, 1991, last movie is City Slickers. So
Hello.
There we go. Thank you. And then let's see. Then January, we've got our Crime and Punishment month to start off the year. Patreon for that one is To Kill a Mockingbird from 1962. And then we have Lethal Weapon 3, Hoffa, My Cousin Vinny, and Passenger 57. And then February is our Women month. That is our Patreon is going to be favorite movies with female leads. And then we've got A League of Their Own, Basic Instinct, Single White Female, Jennifer 8, and Sister Act. So got some good ones. Good ones coming up in January and February.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Well, gentlemen, as always, it is a pleasure to talk movies with you. Always fun to hang out for a little bit and talk. Usually we talk just as much about food as we do movies, but that's fine. I think that's...
I like the food.
You do like the food. That's fine.
I like the food.
All right. Well, Bo, Dennis, Pat, thank you, gents.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, John.
All right. Well, maybe next time we'll find some more some more uplifting movies to watch, so that we don't feel quite so. We don't have to drown our sorrows in food. I guess.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody. Hope you feel consistently forlorn, lost, and aimless over the course of this holiday season.
My daughter's in town for a few weeks here, a few months maybe here, and that's what I wasted an hour and a half watching.
There you go. There you go. You end up back on that deserted road and no future in sight.
At least you learned what narcolepsy is.
That's true. And as long as you learn something, the more you know.
The more you know.
There you go. All right, everybody, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies, and we'll see you back here next time.
Axis will be